I'd like to give a big round of applause, bring to the stage, Rabbi Barry Schechter.
It's one. I have a heart attack here, but I'm in the right place. Yes, something serious happened. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me at the back? Can the non-Jewish people hear me? Good. Well, it's wonderful to see you here. My wife told me before I came on stage, she just leaned over and she said to me, not the best thing to say in a place like this, she said, "Knock 'em dead." I hear people repeating, there's an echo here. I was explaining to someone this morning, as you can hear, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, but shortly after I came to America, many, many years ago, I went into a store in Chicago, and a man listened to me for a minute, and he said to me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from England." He said, "Where?" I said, "England." He said, "Oh. How long you been here?" I said, 3 months. He said, "Ah. You speak pretty good English." You know, I don't know how long I'm going to be going on for, but, you know, some rabbis, and I'm sure this is no news to you, some rabbis tend to speak at length. I won't do it. They go on and on and on and on. Well, in some synagogues, in some shuls, you know, when the rabbi speaks on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, on high holidays, they close the doors. The official reason is because they don't want people walking in during the sermon. That's the official reason. You understand. Well, in one particular synagogue like this, the rabbi had been going on, and you'll hear soon how long, because a lady came to the door and wanted to leave. And the beadle, the governor, the shamus, whatever you want to call him, said, "You cannot leave now." She said, "I have to leave." He said, "The rabbi's in the middle of the sermon." She said, "I have to leave." He said, "Well, why do you have to leave?" She said, "Well, I'm pregnant and I'm about to give birth. I'm pregnant." He said, "Well, you shouldn't have come in that condition." She says, "I didn't." It's amazing what happens, isn't it? You know, I knew a fellow who, he was retired and he was bored, and nothing they could do would make him feel happy. And someone had an idea. He said, "I've got a job for you. It'll work, because nothing seems to satisfy you. But at the Art Institute, they have people, they wear uniform, and they show the people who come in where to go, where the Chagall windows are, and so forth." So he applied, he got the job, and this man said to his friend, "I'm going to go and talk to him. He's been there a week and a half. He's probably sick and tired of it already, but let's see, maybe it worked." And he goes in, he sees the man, and he seems to be in a very good humor. And he says to him, "Tell me, how's it going?" He says, "You seem very happy." He says, it's great, he said. "I sold 3 already." Have you noticed some missing paintings at the Art Institute? Now this is a story I was told not to make too many remarks about death. We have enough of that here. In fact, the whole place looks so familiar to me. I was going to begin by saying how sad it is to be here. The confusion sets in. Anyway, you know, there are certain times on the Jewish calendar when people get a little shaker, a bit drunk. If you want to know when, I'll tell you now, and then you can join us. So, Purim, yes, Purim we're told to get drunk, but a simple Snorah as well. And occasionally people go fairly wild. And it happened in a particular synagogue, a small shul, that people got so wild that the rabbi or the rebbe himself just flaked out. He fell on the floor. He was so drunk. And so the people there, they were Chassidim, they picked him up. This was a joke. They took him after the Yom Tov was over, after the holiday was over, and they took him to, you should pardon the expression in a place like this, they took him to the cemetery, and they laid him down in the cemetery. And the next morning he woke up, and he looked around, and Rebbe had training. I mean, he studied Gemara, he studied Talmud, so very logical, wonderful. And he said, just a minute, he says, if I'm alive, let me do the right cue, the right melody, if I'm alive, then why am I here? But if I'm dead, then why do I have to go to the toilet? I don't even know this. A few weeks ago, we're talking about Israel, an El Al plane landed at the airport in Tel Aviv, in Lod, and as they were coming into land, the announcement came and said, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the plane has come to a complete standstill and the seatbelt signs have been turned off. Also, we must remind you that using cell phones on board this aircraft is still strictly prohibited. And now, the announcer said, the steward said, to those who are still seated, a Merry Christmas, and we hope you enjoy your stay. And to those standing in the aisles and talking on your cell phones, a happy Hanukkah and welcome home. And unlike most of what I've told you, that could well be true. I have one now from my personal experience that actually happened to me. I met someone years ago, a lady that I knew in London. I hadn't seen her in many, many years. And in the interim, she got married. And I was introduced to her husband. And I said, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Czechoslovakia. I said, what town? And he said, you won't have heard of it. I said, try me. He said, Teplitz. I said, Teplitz. Is there anyone here from Czechoslovakia? How extraordinary. No one's here from Czechoslovakia. Anyway, Teplitz. I said, it's the German name. I said, it's right near a place called, in German, Turm, T-U-R-M. He said, how do you know? I said, there was a man who used to come to our little synagogue, our little shul, our little shtibel, many, many years ago, and he left his siddur there, his prayer book. And in the front was a stamp with his name and address from before the Second World War. And at the bottom it said, Turn-Teplitz. He said, I wonder what his name was. We may be related. So I said, well, he's not a... I won't tell you the name. He said, he may be related. I said, well, I tell you the truth. He's not alive anymore, and I have to tell you this. I'm going to use a bad word now. I said, he was a real mumser. He said, that's the one. It's a wonderful way of identifying people. I now want to move. We've mentioned Israel, but I'm going right into Asia. This is about a Japanese couple. A Japanese man. We have musical accompaniment. A Japanese man comes home to his wife and he says, I can't do the accent. I'll do a Jackie Mason accent. A Japanese, honorable wife, I hear you've been having an affair. She said, oh no, honorable husband, not true. Oh, he said, it is true. What is more, honorable wife? I hear you've been having an affair with a Jewish man. She said, oh no, honorable husband, definitely not true. Who has been telling you these Obermeises? There's one I heard from the two wonderful Yiddish comedians who are no longer alive. The man goes to the doctor in Israel. How many people understand Yiddish here? We've got on this table, apart from this table. I don't know, shall I speak in Yiddish? I stick to English. Yes, okay. So a man comes to the doctor. I'll do it in both languages. Man comes to the doctor, against the doctor. The doctor fragt him. The doctor asks him, Wie alt seid ihr? How old are you? And he says, 75 Jahre alt. I'm 75 years old. Das erste Mal in meinem Leben, first time in my life, ich soll sehen Yid, that I see a Jewish man, soll sein 75 Jahre alt, 75 years old, soll sein also gesinnt. We should be so healthy. How does it come about? He says, das habe ich alles zu verdanken mein Weib. It's all due to my wife. He says, how? He says, when we got married, hat sie mir gesagt, she says, kann nicht sein, it's impossible, als zwei Menschen sollen leben zusammen, that two people can live together, in nicht zerkriegen sich, nicht Machleike, not for two people to live together and not have an argument. So, als einer wird nämlich schreien, if one of us starts shouting, soll der zweite gar nicht empfangen, the other one shouldn't answer anything at all, soll rausgehen, it should just leave. So, nie, als man 75 Jahre auf der frischen Luft, als man 50 Jahre in der frischen Luft, müssen wir sein gesinnt. If you spend 50 years in the fresh air, you're bound to be healthy. Again, I have to mention cemetery. I don't have to, but I intend to. I don't mind. There is a cemetery you may be aware of in Arlington Heights. I'm sure many of you know. The cemetery in Arlington Heights. Yes, we have representatives here. It's Arlington Heights. And it's, as I say, in Arlington Heights, but you know the boundary between Arlington Heights and Palatine changed a number of years ago, and originally the cemetery was actually in Palatine because the borders have changed. So, and they can confirm this. People will call them and say, I have to send a check to the cemetery. And they say, what's the address? They say, well, it's 1700 Rand Road, Arlington Heights. West Rand Road. No wonder there was such a problem. West Rand Road. They moved the road as well. Anyway, I've broken my joke now. Anyway, 1700 West Rand Road. Excuse me, 1700 West Rand Road, Arlington Heights. Says, what do you mean Arlington Heights? It's Palatine. She said, no, it's Arlington Heights. I said, they moved the whole cemetery? Yes. You know about the lady who says to her friend, I see that you're having a party. She says, how do you know? She says, how do you know? I saw a big van pull up with food. It said Chinese food from a Hungarian caterer. Figure that one out. I'm trying to be topical. And I see another van with a band and so on. What's happened? She said, you're right. My boys are coming home. I said, really? Where have they been? She says, in jail. Oh, yes, I remember. How long has it been? She said, 8 years. 8 years. Wait a minute. They were sentenced to 15 years. She said, yes. They got 7 years off for good behavior. She says, what a joy, what a nachas to have two such well-behaved boys. Do you know there's a cemetery in, no wait, you could know, I only found this out a few weeks ago. There's a cemetery in London, which is not in use anymore, you may hear why in a minute. They have, when you come into the cemetery, there are washrooms, there are toilets. And so help me, there's a sign there saying, for visitors only. Figure that one out. You know, what do we wish, we Jewish people, what do we say to someone? We say, we want you to have long life. You should live till 120. Bis 120, till 120. I never, ever say that. I always say, bis 120 and 3 Gedushim, till 120 and 3 months. You know why? So you shouldn't die suddenly. Yes. Yes, this... I'm not supposed to do these... I have to do this one. This husband, his wife died. This you're like, this is trade, Robert, trade. This husband, his wife died, and they're carrying, it wasn't done by this funeral home. No one in Chicago, you don't have to worry. So they're carrying the casket. They're carrying the casket, and two gentlemen carrying one at the front, one at the back, and there's a loose stone, and one at the front, man at the front trips, and they drop the casket. And then to their amazement, they hear from inside the casket, knocking. They open up the casket, not my way, it's the other way around. They open the casket. The doctor had made a terrible mistake. The woman had actually just fallen into a coma. She was not dead. She was not dead. And she goes back and she lives with him for another 6 years, and then she really dies. And once again, the same funeral home is carrying this woman in the casket, and as they are coming to that spot where it happened the first time, the husband says, careful boys, last time happened here a nasty accident. It happened to me. I've got to keep on this subject, I can't help it. It happened to me. I told Robert this morning that the first time I actually rode at a funeral, I rode in a hearse, and I'm sitting next to the driver. I've never done this before, and he's driving along, the casket at the back, cars are following, and I said to him, this is absolutely true, what's that rattling at the back of the car? What's that rattling? And he said to me, it's nothing, it's just something loose, a little something loose in the car, in the hearse. And then he said to me, and if it isn't that, in 15 seconds you're going to be sitting there by yourself. Since we're on this subject, there's an elderly woman, an elderly lady, and she goes to have her portrait painted. And she says to the artist, she says to the painter, I won't tell you what ethnicity she is. See who guess. I want you should paint me with diamond earrings, and a diamond necklace, an emerald bracelet, and a ruby brooch, and a gold Rolex watch. And he says, but you're not wearing any of those things. He says, I know. But if I die before my husband, I know he's going to marry again. Let his new wife plus looking for the jewelry. Speaking of old age, someone once said to an old man, he said, it's marvelous, it's just wonderful. Even after 70 years you've been married, and you still call your wife darling, honey, love. What's the secret? And he says, I forgot her name, and I'm scared to ask her. This happened in a courtroom. Do we have any lawyers here? Yeah, here. Yes, another lawyer. Yes. Do we have any judges here? Thank God. Okay. So this man has just been found guilty of shoplifting, and the judge is about to sentence him. And he looks at the defendant and he says to him, wait a minute, just a minute. Don't I know you? Haven't I seen you before? And he says, yes, Your Honor, yes. I gave your son, for 7 months, I came to your house and gave your son violin lessons. And the judge says, oh yes, 20 years. And now I have a wonderfully tasteless story. The owner, do we have any pharmacists here? Yes, you'll like this. Maybe it may have happened to you. The pharmacist comes into his store and he sees a man leaning heavily against the wall. He comes in a bit late. He sees the man leaning against the wall and he says to the clerk who works for him, he says, what's with that guy? And he says, well, he wanted something for his cough, and we didn't have anything. I couldn't find any medicine or cough syrup. So I gave him, listen to this, I gave him a whole bottle of laxatives. He says, you idiot. He says, you can't treat a cough with laxatives. He says, oh yeah? Look at him. He doesn't dare cough. I have a few advertisements. In the days before J-Date and the internet, we used to get these, we had shadchonim, we had matchmakers. They're still active. In fact, they're more active now than in recent past. But people used to put notices in the newspaper. Jewish businessman, 49, manufactures Shabbos candles, Hanukkah candles, Havdalah candles, Yahrzeit candles, seeks non-smoker. You know what a couch potato is? Yes? This is a slightly different version of that. Couch potato latke. In search of the right apple sauce. Let's try it for 8 days. Who knows? Female graduate student studying Kabbalah Zohar, exorcism of Dibbux, seeks marriage. No weirdos, please. Divorced Jewish man seeks partner to attend shul with, light Shabbos candles, celebrate Yom Tov, build sukkah together, attend brises, bar mitzvahs, religion not important. Shul Gabbai 36, this is rather sweet. I take the Torah out Saturday morning, would like to take you out Saturday night. Yeshiva Bacher, Torah scholar, long beard, pious, seeks same in woman. Matzah supplier 53 seeks cloth bag manufacturer. Let's play Hide the Afikoman. There are two ladies, two elderly widows in Florida. There are many widows in Florida. In fact, that gets me off on a nice tangent. You know, in Florida, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. You know, we talk about Tesla, we talk about, driverless cars. In Florida, they've had them for years. But these two, this lady sitting next to her friend, and she thinks to herself, wait a minute. Did she go to a red light? She went to a red light. She went to a second red light. Went to a third red light. She says, Hetty, are you trying to kill us? You went to 3 red lights. And Hetty says, wait, am I driving? That's another one that could be true. So two of these, the two ladies in an adult community in Florida, And there's a man who's a new man who's just arrived, a quiet, nice-looking man, keeps to himself, and one of them goes up to him and says, listen, my friend and I were wondering, you look so lonely. He says, of course I'm lonely. He says, where have you been? He said, for 20 years. He said, where? I've been in prison. He said, prison? Why? I killed my third wife. I strangled her. He says, oh my God. Well, what happened to the second wife? I shot her. So what about the first wife? Well, he said, we had a fight, and she fell out of the building. She says, oh my. She turns to a friend, she yells out to him, you, Shirley, he's single! You know, speaking of elderly couples, I'll get round to the younger ones in a minute. Elderly couples, tell me when I'm over. Okay. Elderly couple, they go on Aliyah. They move to Israel, and you know, things are like in Israel, alas. An air raid alarm goes, and they start running for the shelter, running as fast as they can. And suddenly, she turns back. She turns back. He says, where are you going? She says, I left my teeth in the glass. He says, Becky, they're throwing bombs, not sandwiches. You know, there's the man comes to his friend and he says, you know, I've got such solace. He says, solace is solace. He said, you know, whoever I bring home, whichever young lady I bring home, my mother doesn't like it. What can I do? He said, I'll tell you what you do. I'll tell you what you do, he said. Find a young lady who is just like your mother. Find someone. You'll see, it'll be okay. He sees him a couple of months later and he says, he looks pretty miserable. He said, did you do what I said? He said, I did. He said, what happened? He said, I brought home a woman. He said, she looked like my mother. She had the same gestures as my mother, the same coloring, the same clothes, everything the same. He said, what happened? He said, my father can't stand her. Okay, one more. Yes. Guess where I'm going after this. But it's nice to know one went with a laugh. So, there's a man who dies. This is very appropriate. It's not a sad story though. A man dies, and he is shown, he's given a tour, and he's actually shown what's downstairs. I don't hear downstairs. We know what's downstairs here. I'm in the world of whole, Gehenna, hell. And what's upstairs? The other one, Gan Eden, heaven, paradise. He's amazed. He goes downstairs. I'll do the last line in Yiddish and then give the rest of you. He goes downstairs to hell, and he's never seen anything like it. There are hundreds of people there, Jewish people, others as well, having a fantastic time. They're eating, they're drinking, dancing and singing. There's a bar. There's food. There's kosher food. By the way, kosher food in hell, that's an interesting idea. There's kosher food. And there's even a band. There's a band. A live band. Think of that one as well. A live band in hell. And then he's shown Gan Eden. He goes up to heaven, paradise. He goes up there, he looks around. There's no one there. And then he goes way over into the corner, he walks over and he sees the three old Jewish people, they're sitting there, they're learning, they're studying. And he says to God, no, I have to go to English. He says to God, I'll give it to you in English as well. He says to God, verstehe nicht, which means, I don't understand. He said, dort in Gehenna, down there in hell. He said, me esst, me trinkt, men tanzt, men huljet. They're eating, they're drinking, they're dancing, they're carousing. He says, I fill it to a band. There's even a band. In Deutschen, in Gan Eden, up there in heaven, sitzen drei alte Jiden, go nicht. There are 3 old Jews and nothing. God says to him, für 3 alte Jiden soll ich nehmen a band. For 3 old Jews, I should hire a band. Thank you very much.